As long as they do the job, it doesn't have to look pretty.
Pay heed and observe. This here is a brand new GT3 2S frame. Alas, Matt had no choice but to purchase a second-hand frame brand new to him to mend this ill-fated GT3 2S. For the body frame, far off at Dodge Wang's abode, was beyond repair, grievously damaged. The cost to restore it was far too much. Thus, with heavy heart, he forsook the original body. In the end, Matt dismantled all the parts and packed them into a shipping box, and thus he sent them back to their origin. But lo! Upon returning the parts and engine to their origin, Matt found upon disassembly that the engine was grievously damaged. This meant he must now devise a wholly new approach to restore it. Matt consulted his friends and sought several methods. Yet still, none could resolve the issue. However, through some unique means, Matt succeeded in rebuilding the engine. Though, in the process, he wasted some 1,500 pounds. This second-hand frame required him to tend to its carbon fiber roof. The structure of the roof was solid, and Matt was left with no choice but to use forceful means to dismantle the expensive roof, for he was to install a roof even pricier. Behold, the roof now greatly damaged. But Mark's strike of 80 points of critical damage did not bring it to ruin. Though the roof is of carbon fiber, its structure light and swift. Once damaged, it cannot be mended like aluminum. Thus, he had to seek out the 4 fastenings hidden within the lining to untwist them. The remaining roof was sealed with a special adhesive, thus bound tight. It required a heat gun, and only with hammer and chisel could it be dismantled. This method swiftly and easily parted the parts, for save for the sealant, the carbon fiber was surrounded by but-for bolts, almost devoid of any other structure. After 3.5 hours, which is to say 90 minutes, it was finally completely dismantled. All done verily so. Now, the only severely damaged roof has been removed. But upon seeing the structure of the roof, Matt was troubled. Observe closely, for it was not only the main part that was destroyed. The internal structure was also damaged to varying degrees, and within there was a crack. Thus, it must be replaced. Fortunately, back in England, Matt is able to procure any part related to it. This makes the restoration more convenient. But in America, acquiring such parts proves difficult. This brand new roof panel costs £2,200, but Matt must figure out how to replace it. For this is his first encounter with such a dilemma. This part of the structure is unlike the former side wing panels, and around it, there are no other bolts to secure it. Matt must quickly discover the most effective method to fix it in place. Moreover, this structure is not riveted on one side as before, quite troublesome indeed. But this part, it was drilled with rivets by his father. The essential position, the sun visor too, is fixed in this position, but there is a great deal of sealant around it. Matt plans to use a grinder to clean off the surface sealant. Once the surface sealant is ground away, Matt was astonished to find the roof panel structure is exceedingly intricate. To replace it, it seems, the pillar surface frame must be dismantled. Only then can the front components of the roof be replaced. This implies that the body structure must undergo a significant dismantling. After securing it between the 2 panels, and beneath the pillar, there is a great amount of panel adhesive to be dealt with. Additionally, Matt has also acquired a second-hand pillar from the original manufacturer. The cast outer frame. Though this part belongs to a Porsche GT3 body frame, upon comparison, there is no incongruity between them. In fact, the match is quite high, and the compatibility is impressive. Now, Matt must cut away the surface of the pillar to find the perfect cutting point. But after cutting, Matt was once again surprised to find that there were no bolts or rivets used on the interior. It was completely fixed with adhesive. Thus, another 3.5 hours were required. That is to say, 90 minutes. This entire process was rather laborious, but this method effectively solved Matt's current dilemma. Now all the surface parts have been removed, except for the damaged roof frame. Now it's time to begin disassembly, but Matt must first clear away the sealant and rivets from these positions. This part requires attention. Matt still has the other pillar that hasn't been dealt with yet. On the other side, there's only a slight dent, but to repair the roof, it must also be removed. Observe this section of the roof pillar frame. It doesn't appear to be too severe, but without removing this pillar frame, the roof cannot be replaced. Matt, in order to save more time with his father, is furiously working. The roof is already scorched. They still haven't been able to remove the upper pillar. Though the pillars are fixed with adhesive, they are quite sturdy. The cleaning process. Matt yet again unexpectedly discovered this roof pillar frame has 18 rivets mixed within. This makes the already difficult task even more difficult. My dear old father, now the pillar frames on both sides have finally been removed. Now at last we can remove the damaged roof panel and around the rivets. Hey! Wow! Wait, so what do they call it when it's got no screen and no roof upper top? That's it. GT theaters of per top. Now, Matt and Dad, panel adhesive needs to be cleaned. All surface locations that will be touched, and drill holes for rivets. This method can transform new, complete panel structure, perfect fit on existing structures. Matt tested it in his own way. Good quality. The contact surfaces on both sides are very close. Then install the windshield. There will be no accidents, but accidents always come so suddenly. The top panel is organized. But Matt and Dad ignored the following panel. They have big gaps. If this small gap is not handled properly, then when I drive him out to show off later, you will definitely hear the strange sound of creaking. Although the bolts are tightened, it will reduce the distance between them. But this is not the solution for him and the frame of this car. After a rotation jump, then the driver closed his eyes. So Matt has to find this part of the problem. Where is it? Then solve it. In fact, you can see there is a slight crease on this part. Although the progress of repair is frequent, encountering various troublesome problems, and the things we face are always not ideal. But the frame of this car is also damaged. Structure of collision fee. But this part of the structure is steel. Should be simple to fix. And this part has obvious solder joints. Matt plans to tear them all down. Then repair and install. First, you need to grind off the welding coal on the surface. Then start grinding. Using a sledgehammer to output crazily. This part on the side is a steel structure. It's a bit difficult to disassemble. But in the end, the steel structure was dismantled. Run at the bottom of the panel. Looks good. Okay, that was very strong, but it's understandable it holds a roof on. Got that off now. And that's got the bit of the other one. Now we've got to cut this on and spot those. Bitch sort of dicks drinking the water. So, Matt thinks that while welding anything, need to add a little Soul spray paint over the primer. This will prevent it from rusting from the inside out after restoration. Only in this way can we ensure that he will be 100% restored to the factory after repair. When setting a fixed position, it is also necessary to constantly adjust the correct angle. This process requires great caution. This way, subsequent installation, the front windshield will be aligned correctly. Everything looks good so far. And Dad has already made holes in the panel. Fix it and weld it here. Matt is now going to use some really cool welding techniques. Plug these holes. Easier said than done. Let's see his awesome tricks. At the beginning, Matt was still bragging. Why do you say you are the best welder in the world? In fact, I'm far from it. But as long as they do the job, doesn't have to look pretty. After 30 minutes of spot welding technology, although there were some accidents during the process, however, the solder joints of this part of the structure are still good. Fixed great! The next step is to remove impurities on the surface of the solder joint. Makes him look smoother. Matt took out his ancestral small sand bag grinder. Finished surface. Now those solder joints look pretty neat. Next step is to install the roof panel. Oh, it should sit nice and flush. And it does, which is good news. We can finally stop making progress. We get the roof out. The roof was the most expensive part of all these. All these little panels, a couple of juquid air in there. The roof 8,900 pound plus vow. And it's the weakest part of all this, but it's kind of like that.
What? Did the old one not have that? No.
What's
What's
the hole in there for? Don't know where. They are. Who did as I hung for Jesu free?
No, because it's got the bits for the arrow.
Next on. This will paint it and some trust in the air you enjoy it. Next video, peace out.